welcome you guys to Barnes & Noble Oscar Valley. We're so glad you came. I know some of you came from far away, so thank you. Who all, I know you guys came, and you guys came. Anyone else come from afar? Oh, where'd you come from? Where? Wow. Great. Can anyone top that? Oh, Wisconsin. I remember you guys. They were here the other day. So, things so good. So thank you guys. We're glad you're here. Well, we're so excited. We have Alyson Noël here. And I guess since all y'all are here, you know about her and her series. So she has, tonight she's here with her sixth and final book, Everlasting, of this Immortal Series. But she is going to talk a little bit, and then she will do the signing after. So when she's done, I'll kind of start the line for the signing, so just kind of stay after she's done, and then I'll kind of come back out. So again, let's give her a great welcome. Here and a little help for you. Y'all can't hear, do let us know. So yeah, go like that. Yeah. Because we have that opening there, and sometimes it doesn't carry back. Okay. So hi, everyone. I'm Alyson. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. It's my second night. Last night I was in Atlanta for the launch of Everlasting that came out yesterday. This is my second stop in the tour. So I'm not exhausted yet or anything. I'm still feeling fresh and ready to go. And I'm really thankful for you guys taking the time to make the trip to Florida, Wisconsin, and wherever else Pennsylvania you came from. I really appreciate it. When I first started, it's really kind of a special moment for me personally to be here talking about this book, because it's been like this incredible journey writing this series. I had written 7 previous novels before the Immortal Series, and 6 of those were for teens, and 1 was for adults, and they were all single-title, standalone, contemporary novels. And I always really loved paranormal books. I've read a lot of paranormal books ever since I was a little kid. Casper the Friendly Ghost was my favorite cartoon, you know. So in a way, it was kind of strange that I never tried to write a paranormal before. Sure. Yeah. And it's kind of strange I never wrote a paranormal before, but I tend to write about things that happen in my own life. I have this philosophy: if it didn't kill me, I'm going to find a way to write about it. And so it wasn't until 5 years ago I went through this time of grief where I lost 3 people I loved in 5 months, and then right after that my husband was diagnosed with leukemia, and I almost lost him as well. And he's in full remission now, so that story has a happy ending, luckily. But it got me, it was a life-changing event, and it got me thinking a lot about things that I tried to not think about before, like mortality and unpleasant subjects like that. But it also got me thinking a lot about this idea of how difficult it is when we lose a loved one, and how you have this huge hole in your life that can never be filled. You just learn how to sort of live around it. But what would be the price of living forever? What would be the price of immortality? And sort of wanting to answer that question for myself, I started writing Evermore. When I was writing Evermore, I was so driven to write that particular story that it wasn't until I reached the end of the book that I realized it was really just the beginning of something more. I didn't envision it as a series from the start. All I could see was that one particular book. And, I mean, it was an experience, a writing experience like I'd never really had before. I was just completely immersed in this world and in this character, and just very, very driven to tell the story. When I got to the end, I realized, well, they are immortal. It really is just the beginning. There's a lot more to say here. And it was about a third of the way through Blue Moon that I knew exactly where I was going to end the series, and how I was going to answer that particular question in my mind about what really is true immortality. Is it spiritual? Is it physical? And what would be the price of that? So really, from Blue Moon all the way to everlasting, the whole journey has been leading up to this book. And every single event that happened in those books are leading up to this book. And they all come back in this book. And everything comes full circle into a conclusion in this book. So this was probably the most fun in the whole series because I got to tie all those pieces together. And I got to really, I got to give Ever her greatest challenge yet. But she's almost like a child to me. I spent so much time with her. I watched her kind of go from authors talk like this about their characters, like they're real. They're all crazy. But I got to watch her, grow from a very grief-stricken, insecure, young 16-year-old girl who felt completely lost in the world to overcoming obstacles both in her supernatural life and in her very real high school life and meet those challenges along the way. So it's the conclusion of her journey and Jane's journey and everyone else's journey, and it was really a pleasure to write, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. Have any of you finished it yet? Has anyone read the last page? No one's going to admit to that. Okay, well I thought I would just read a really, really small passage because I don't want to give away any spoilers whatsoever. And then I'll take it. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer questions, and then we'll sign. So this is just a little bit from chapter 1. Ever, wait. Damien reaches toward me, grasping my shoulder, hoping to slow me, to bring me back to him. But I keep moving forward. Can't afford the delay. Not when we're so close. Almost there. The worries draining off him like rain from a windshield, not dimming in the least when he picks up the pace, matches my stride, and laces his fingers with mine. We should head back. This can't be the place. Nothing about it looks remotely the same. His gaze travels the distance from the disturbing landscape to my face. You're right. Nothing about it is remotely the same. I hover at the perimeter, my breath coming too quick, my heart beginning to race, taking a moment to survey my surroundings before I hazard a step forward again. One small stride followed by another, until my feet sink so deep into the mud-laden earth that tops of them vanish completely. I knew it, I whispered, the words barely audible, though I don't need to speak for Damien to hear me. It's just as easy to communicate telepathically. It's exactly like the dream. He looks at me, waiting. Well, it's just as I expected. I glance to the side, my blue eyes meeting his dark ones, holding the look, wanting him to see what I see. All of this, everything you see here, it's like it's all changed because of me. He kneels beside me, fingers played on my back, running his palm in slow circles up and down the path of my spine, wanting to soothe, to refute everything I just said, but choosing to swallow the words instead. No matter what he says, no matter how good and solid an argument he may wage, he knows better. Knows all too well that I will not be swayed. I heard the old woman. He heard her too. Saw the way her finger pointed, the way her eyes stared accusingly, listened to the haunting tune of her creepy song with its cryptic lyrics and lingering melody, the warning intended solely for me, and now this. I sigh as I gaze upon it, Haven's grave, so to speak. The spot where just a few weeks before I dug deep into the earth to bury her belongings, all that was left of her, the clothes she wore when I sent her soul into the Shadowlands, the spot I held sacred, hallowed, now transmuted, transformed. The once rich earth turned to a wet, soggy mush with no sign of the flower I manifested, no life of any kind. The air no longer shimmering, no longer glistening, virtually indistinguishable from the dark part of Summerland I'd stumbled upon earlier. So bleak, so foreboding, and though but still in appearance, Damien and I are the only creatures willing to venture anywhere near it. The bird peeping to the perimeter, the carpet of nearby grass shrinking back on itself, providing all the evidence I need to know it's changed because of me. So, that's how chapter 1 starts. Does anyone have any questions about the series, the books, writing, the movie, Yes.
Where do you get the names for your partners?
Oh, I really like unusual names, and since my first book back in 2005, I've been collecting unusual names wherever I see them. On name tags, movie credits, just overhearing, and it's called the Unusual Names File. And it's a pretty thick file, and every time before I start a new book, I go through it and see which names might be appropriate for these particular characters. And Ever has been on that in the unusual name file for a while, and I've just been dying to use it, and she was finally the right character to use that for. Any other questions? Yes.
Are you going to make it into a movie?
The Immortal Series, all 6 books in the Immortal Series, and all 4 books in the Riley Bloom series. You guys know about the Riley Bloom series? It's a spin-off series featuring the younger sister, Jessica's sister Riley. So all 10 books were just recently optioned in Summit Entertainment, and so I'm hopeful. We went to their offices and met, and they seem really enthusiastic about it, and I know I am too. So there's a lot of hoops to jump through still, but that's the first step. So I'm really hopeful that it'll keep moving from there. It'll be great. Anyone else? Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, ending a book is a lot easier than ending a series. And it was the first series I'd written. All my previous novels were all standalones, and so, very closed storyline. And it was both really exciting and fun, and also there was a certain amount of pressure to make sure that I had tied up all the events that I had started throughout the series and brought everything to conclusion. And so before I started writing Everlasting, I went back and sort of quick read through all previous 5 books to make sure. I had a list, but I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. And I think I got them all. I know you guys will let me know if I didn't. But it was difficult in that way, just making sure everything was tied up and just sort of hoping that it meets your expectations and mine and what I know the characters need to happen as well. So, but it was actually really, really fun. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts or plans on another book?
Yeah, I'm continuing the Riley Bloom series. Dreamland will be out in September, and actually we'll see Ever Bloom again because she's going to visit Riley in Dreamland, so she has a nice little scene in there. And the 4th Riley book, Whisper, will be out in, I think, March or April of 2012. And I'm already at work on a new series called Soul Seekers. And I'm about halfway done at this point with the first book, which doesn't have a title yet. Well, actually, it's not true. It has about 12 titles. I haven't narrowed it down to just one. And that's been really fun to write. It's young adult. It's paranormal. It takes place in New Mexico, and it will include themes of shamanism. And I like to really delve deep into research for my book, so that's been really fun. For the Immortal Series, I took, I read tons of books on metaphysical ideas, and I took a psychic development course with James von Prague, and I underwent hypnosis. And so for the shamanism book, I've already done a weekend immersion course in shamanism, which is really fun and interesting. And I'm reading a lot of it on the subject. And so that is set to debut in May 2012. So, and that'll be 4 books to start. We'll see where it goes from there. Yeah.
Do you have a special place you like to sit? If you're writing a no musician, usually have a special place to do.
Yeah, I have a home office, and I spend, I head down there at like 7:30 in the morning, and other than, taking breaks to eat and shower, that's where I live, my writing cave. And I prefer that. I've gotten myself now where, because I'm doing a lot of travel, that I can write on the road, but I never really get as into it, and I don't really write as much as I do when I'm just really comfortable in my home office. I have it just set up to, sort of work the way I need to work. And I have a word count goal of about 2,000 to 3,000 words a day, which ends up being about 10 pages. And I write every day. I write 7 days a week, and I write most holidays too. And I don't always get 10 pages on Christmas Day, but I at least try to get 1 or 2. Because for me, it's easier to stay in the voice of the character. If I take a week off, it takes me 4 days to get back into the book. So just writing, even if it's just a little bit each day, even if I don't hit my word count, just staying within the world of the book, within the voice of the characters, helps me keep it going that way. And I have pretty tight deadlines too, so it keeps me on track with that as well. Any other questions? Yeah.
How did you come up with the idea for Fly Me to the Moon? I thought it was such a fun book, and I told so many people about it.
Thank you.
I loved that. It was just so, I thought it was fun.
Thank you. Fly Me to the Moon is the one adult book that I wrote. It came out in 2007, and it was actually the movie that was just optioned by Ridley Scott, and Sharon Maguire, who directed Bridget Jones' Diary, is directing it and writing the screenplay.
For Fly Me to the Moon?
Yeah. So hopefully that'll move forward as well. I know that they have a script that's nearly finished and she's trying on to direct, so that would be really cool.
How did you come up with that?
I was a flight attendant.
Oh.
Yeah. For over a decade I worked for Delta Airlines, and I actually quit flying to write full time. When I got my second book deal, suddenly my deadlines were really piling up on me and I didn't have time to do both, and so they were offering furloughs, voluntary furloughs, so I volunteered to take one. And so that was really based on 10 years of research working as a flight attendant. Yeah.
When did you know that you wanted to be a writer?
I wanted to be a writer when I was 12 years old, and I read my first Judy Blume book, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, and it changed my world. I was always a really big reader because my mom was a big reader, so she had us reading really young age, and I read everything. And the Judy Blume was one of the few way back then that was writing really realistically. It wasn't this sort of fantastical version of how nice it would be to live in a utopia as a teen, but it was, she was dealing with real teen problems and how difficult adolescence can be. And reading that book, it just felt so real, and it felt like it was written for me and my friends, and like it was our book. And I realized, wow, I would really like to do that too. So it was the sort of book that was also kind of passed around covertly. Even though my mom wouldn't have cared for whatever reason, we all sort of passed that around covertly. So we were in math class, Mrs. Blue's math class, and I read the book, and it was my turn to pass it on. And I was never very good at that sort of clandestine activity. And I got caught. And Mrs. Blue took the book, and she confiscated it. And that was the end of that. And so the next day we all went to class. And the class started, and she held the book up in front of us and said, just so you know, I read this book on my lunch break, and I want you to know that it is absolute trash. None of you should be reading this book, and none of you will be reading this book because I will not be giving it back. And she put it in her desk and slammed her desk shut. And it made me realize the power of storytelling. Because here was a book that got us 12-year-old girls to hide it and read it under the covers and give up watching Happy Days and Welcome Back Kotter so we could read this book. And my math teacher was just enraged by it, and it showed me the power of storytelling, and I knew I wanted to become that. And so I guess I have Mrs. Blue to thank for that inspiration. Yeah. Scary Mrs. Blue. Any other questions? Shall we sign? Yeah. Okay.
It's